feel like I need extra time today coming to a place of centered equanimity, because what I brought to this, what I sat down with, was anger and frustration. And I like to stop the momentum and pause and find that center before starting this so that I can have clarity. I think it's fine too that I speak about all my range of emotions and thoughts. Really, that was the initial intention, to expose those raw, unrefined things so I could see them more clearly. My hope is that I can do both, be both human and divine, bridging those two worlds of the honesty of what my human experience is, as well as that broader perspective from within. I really don't want to be spiritual bypassing, but I do want to have that broader perspective. I want to span the breadth of awareness. I do want to see my own shadow. I do want to see where I could improve. But as I say, this morning, I was feeling anger and frustration and judgment. Over the past, feels like for a very long time, but especially over the past 5 years, I've been isolating myself more and more. I felt very frustrated with people. Felt like they were on a different wavelength. It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle for my whole life, it feels, in trusting people and having judgments about them. Because I do feel I can see them deeper than just the superficial behavior. And I can see people who are operating quite egotistically, I believe. It's so weird nowadays where people have all the lingo and they think they have this self-awareness. And I don't exclude myself from that. I do try and be vigilant in observing myself. But part of the difference is I know that I have a practice of that I'm sure I'm not perfect at all in seeing all of my blind spots. I think that never goes away. When we're in human form, when we're dwelling in human consciousness, we will always have blind spots. We don't know our full consciousness. We can't bring that all into the human form. I don't think that it's, I mean, maybe it is possible, but I think it's very rare. But we can definitely improve upon the standard situation, the standard human that we dwell amongst. I've been working on self-awareness, peeling back the veil for a long time. And I know I still have work to do, but when people who I know they don't have a practice and they've not been doing it nearly as long as I am, suggest that they know what's going on or they've got it all figured out. I know that I'm not gonna school them. They're in an entrenched place where they haven't softened enough. Unfortunately, they haven't suffered enough. And I think this collective egotism is why the tribulation will occur. People have been given a chance over these past 5 years to humble themselves, to soften, to open up. But instead, many people have entrenched themselves in this especially with anybody who conforms to what is called the woke ideology, all this political correctness. Anybody who, and unfortunately it's so many people who could have a broader perspective, but fail to capitalize on that opportunity. It's like they're on the edge, but instead they give in to their weakness. I believe they've been targeted, but that's not an excuse. The political correctness, the woke ideology, it's targeted them, it's exploited their vulnerability. And so many people have given into it. So many people who think that they're in the right. And the anger and the bitterness from them is quite remarkable. Supposedly, the caring, loving people are paradoxically the opposite. And yet, those with integrity, those with a spiritual connection, who refuse to be co-opted into a narrative, are deemed the bad guys. And I've often fallen into the bad guy category. I challenge things. I challenge people. And I know my intentions are good. But when I see people trapped in bullshit, I'm not going to let them try and snare me in it, or try and gaslight me into following along with their zombie walk. I have put in tremendous effort to clear a psychological space for myself, where I can actually think for myself. That has been a battleground from day one. Since I was a young adolescent. So I don't feel like I have many peers in this. It's a rare person, I think, that has the clarity about this that I do. And I don't think that's a spiritual egotism. It's just accurate. There's so many things that really, it seems many people are just, they're not capable at this point of considering. I don't like to think of people as sheeple, but they just, time and time again, behave that way. Anybody who says to me that I hurt their feelings, instantly I kind of lose respect for them, because I know what can hurt somebody's feelings, and I don't do that. If I wanted to hurt somebody's feelings, I definitely could do it, because I can see their weaknesses. I can see how I could really cut them. But I don't do that. I do know how to communicate in a way where when I'm expressing something, and I can express something very controversial, but I'm doing it from a place of this is what I want, this is how I see it, this is my experience. And I have all the right to do that. I can say the most extreme controversial thing, and if I'm owning it, you don't have a right to tell me I'm wrong. You don't have a right to gaslight me and say, that hurts my feelings. You hurt my feelings. What I am listening for is somebody saying, this is my experience of it, and owning it. And if somebody really does that, they're not gonna pull up the drawbridge and shut down and curl up into a little ball and cry. They're gonna recognize the power of their own mind and the awareness that I can't make them feel anyway. This is what I try and do. I think I do it pretty regularly, is own my experience of the world. Yes, when I look around, I'm out in the world, I'm amongst people, I'm feeling things. I'm feeling things because of my frame of reference, the way that I'm looking at it. And I do my best to unpack that and examine what are the things that might be erroneous? What are the thoughts that I'm having that might be erroneous? Where am I disempowering myself? And this, I really do wrestle with this because I'm wanting to sort out where am I taking on things personally that I shouldn't, right? It's not anything that I did. It's not anything that I should take accountability for. And then there's other things where I recognize that my accountability is in how I'm looking at it. And this is a process of reclaiming my power. And for one, not making enemies where there is no enemy. I want to be clear who the real enemy is. And something that I think is really sad is when people who could be allies think of us as enemies, or we make them enemies. There's also a nuance of boundaries. Like if I state a boundary, or this is my preference, or this is what I like, this is me expressing myself, and somebody getting their back up. Like they think that I'm being aggressive or adversarial. And this really does confuse me at times, because I believe my intentions are good, but I know also that I can come off intensely because I feel intensely. I'm very restrained, actually. If people only knew how restrained I am, and I'm restrained because I want to be good. I want to be understood, and I want to treat people well. So, and this goes way back to early conditioning, even trauma response of micromanaging my expression. And I've decided that there's been benefit in that I've gleaned something beneficial in being mindful, being vigilant about how I receive and respond to people. And not that I'm perfect or do it every time, but I think I am very conscientious and mindful. At the same time, I've developed a broader perspective where I accept that people are going to misinterpret me. And that's on them. I'm doing my best. I am intentional. I am caring. If people choose to misinterpret me and make me a bad guy, that's their problem. That's their loss of the potential relationship with me. If they want to think of themselves as a loving, caring person, they're going to couch everything in an attempt at forgiveness, which is what love is. If you think you're a loving person, then have a tendency to forgive, at a certain point, it may be that, no, I can't forgive this anymore. This is the line, and I'm drawing it. And that's going to be based on how deep the relationship is. If there's been a history of connection, then there's going to be some resilience there. There's going to be more willingness to extend love to those situations that seem unloving or boundary transgressing. At this point in my life, my relationship with myself is paramount. And I do have high standards for the people in my life. I'm sorry, I'm not willing to bend over backwards for people who I see that actually they're not meeting me on the same level. I can work with people if they have a degree of humility. I'm willing to give people a hand up, because let's be honest, in human functioning, there's different levels. Not on the spiritual level, we're all divine beings, but on the human level, there are different levels of function. Some people are not very self-aware. They're not very intuitive. They're not very intelligent. They're not very capable. They're not very healthy. Of course, there's all different degrees and mixes of this. But for those of us who have been working hard for a long time at improving ourselves, for us just to let anyone in, let anyone participate in our life, it's not going to work. Sometimes we come across people who could use our help. And through negotiation, we're willing to do that. But that person needs to have a degree of humility. Not be so prideful that they think they know everything. I know I don't know everything, but I do know that I've put a lot more work in than most have. It's a strange paradox that often the people that have put in the most work have the most humility. And I don't mean humility, false humility, in this kind of pathetic weakness, as I see in a lot of the virtuous, woke people who think that being boundaryless means being wise or spiritual or insightful. No, this is Pisces gone wrong. This is the real thing that needs to be defeated. This is the thing that is coming up for assessment with Saturn in the last degree of Pisces. It's doing away with this association that being spiritual means being a martyr, means being a doormat, not having boundaries, not having clarity. Saturn is going to kick your ass. The hippy-dippy days are over, and I myself have learned this the hard way. This is a very, very important lesson in this time, is how to hold that emotional intelligence, that awareness, that sensitivity, yet not be destroyed by everything. Not to be misinterpreting things. Or we will get destroyed, and everything will be destroyed. So, where do we draw the line? Where is our edge? Where are our boundaries? What do we stand for? What are we clear about? And is it out of a place of reaction? Or clear intentionality? Are we making up ghosts and demons where they don't exist? Are we demonizing those who are actually wise teachers? I think there's a lot of basically well-intentioned people who are very confused. I think this is the process that we're going through that is going to be brutal. That is brutal right now. Past 5 years have been brutal, and it's likely to get worse because people are not waking up. People are being effing idiots, pathetic losers. Like, sometimes some people just need a swift backhand. This is what's coming. This is what's coming for every weak person. That doesn't mean sensitive. You can be sensitive and perceptive and feeling. But if you can't face what is, if you have to wave a flag, if you need the government to hold your hand, if you need a safe space to crawl into, you're toast. You're not going to survive. There's a bulldozer coming, and you're going to be made into hamburger. There's a fine line of warriorship. It doesn't mean losing your shit. It doesn't mean screaming and yelling and shooting people. It means standing your ground, being clear in who you are. This is an exquisitely fine line and takes tremendous amount of focus and discipline and practice. It's about growing up. It's about spiritual and emotional maturity. And I really don't see many people that are there. I'm imagining that it's going to happen fairly quickly, because if it doesn't, then those people will just perish. I think that the storm clouds are on the horizon, and this is what's coming. And those people that need a flag to hide behind or a safe space are really gonna be in a tough place. I've put out my hand to people. I've been willing to help people get up to speed, to smarten up. But most people are too proud for that. If it doesn't come across in a Instagram soundbite, then they can't just regurgitate it and feel proud that they are spiritually developed. I don't know. I don't fully understand how these people think. I see their incongruencies, but I think that is because they don't have their own mind. They're like a leaf in the wind, and they don't have that inner anchor. They don't have that inner connection. And that's what I feel. I feel this wobbliness. I feel this lack of integrity. And that's often when I come in offering guidance. But of course, what happens is, that lack of integrity is a feeling of insecurity. And so they're fundamentally insecure people. And our society's been set up for a long time now. This aversion towards the true teachers that often come across Saturnian. Not sweetly, not coddling, but sternly. I don't think most people are ready to grow up. Most people don't want to take on that burden. There's such a paradox here, because I think that in many people's spiritual path, there's a point of submitting to an authority. There's a laying aside the ego and saying, guide me. I don't know what to do with my life. And that's a very important point. And I think there's been a betrayal by authorities. There's been a co-opting, so religion became government, and clearly both have failed us. And it's fine now that we're moving away from, well, some of us are moving away from idolatry, whether it be a symbol or a flag. Some people still love their idols, and they will put those in the place of God. But some of us recognize that we need to submit to the inner authority, that there is a true authority within us. It's our I am presence, and it's not our ego. Our ego is what deserves the backhand often, and until we have integrated that Saturnian energy, it's going to come from without. We're going to feel victimized, we're going to feel bullied, we're going to feel like everybody else is shitting on us. And we're going to need to hide behind a flag or the government. Somebody's going to need to protect us and give us some safe space. But even in that safest space, we're going to feel like victims, like self-hating losers. Like so many minorities, so many gays are in that spot of victim mentality. And they use all sorts of coping mechanisms, whether it be drugs, or video games, or social media, or entertainment, to fill that hole where self-respect should be. And the level of defensiveness. The level of defensiveness is always equivalent to that degree of self-hatred. I think it's terribly sad. But I got myself out of it. I was always, I don't think I ever was that deep in it. Because from early on, I saw the superficiality of it. Yes, I dipped my toes in it. I think I can understand it to some degree. But at this point, I have no time for it. I did not buy any of the progressive ideology that would co-opt rational, logical sanity. It's absurd. It's like a parasite that preys on people's weakness. It's destroying everything. And maybe that's what needs to happen. everything needs to be seriously undermined and fall apart. And then people find that strength within, find that integrity within that's been seriously lacking, that they've been so dependent on external validation for, and now that it's gone, once the power goes out, once the government's not gassing them up, they have to get a bit dirty. They have to face the ugly truth. The sad, tragic, pathetic truth of who they've let themselves become. Because they weren't strong enough. Well, it's going to get to a time where you either toughen up. And what I mean by that is not desensitize, but develop a resilience and a strength in response to that depth. An ability to defend yourself, to stand up for yourself, to express yourself, regardless of what other people say. This was the energy of early gay rights. Came out of the creativity, was an FU attitude. But that FU attitude needs to be stronger than the place that it's come from, of woundedness and hurt. That victim mentality. The strength is the goal. But there's been so much malingering because the victimhood, the virtue signaling, has been platformed and emphasized and made into a religion. And people's weakness has been exploited. And I think it's disgusting. I think it's evil. The worst part, though, is people complying with it, people capitulating to it, people giving it their soul, their energy, their life force, and becoming slaves, becoming victims, becoming deeply entrenched in that, and becoming vitriolic against the very people who would wake them up, who would shake them out of that victimhood. And then those of us who could actually wake them up, we say, fine, we turn away. We say, suit yourself. Be losers. Be victims. Wave your flags. Because we see what's coming. We see that inevitably people are going to learn the hard way. One way or another. We tried to help. We tried to be teachers. We tried to be mentors and guides. We actually did the hard work. We did it when there was no help, or very, very little help. We know this stuff inside out. We've put our neck on the line many times. And we refuse to be martyrs. That's what I had to learn. I'm not going to sacrifice my own connection, my own well-being for somebody else who refuses to have the humility that's necessary. It's going to come. There's no wisdom without that humility, without that openness to be schooled. So I know my purpose. I know at this point in my life, it is to be a teacher and a healer. I've done the training over and over again. I am wise, I am knowledgeable, I am insightful, I'm skilled. But I know if people don't want that, then it's foolish to try and force it on them. That's not going to work. It's absolutely not going to work. It's just going to get them riled up, and that's how people get shot. That's how people, because those people are full of venom and not owning it. So there's projection. So it's quite dicey trying to work with people who lack self-awareness, because they tend to lash out. So why am I going to risk that? I can be incredibly gracious and generous with those that I feel there's some opening. There's a possibility of receptivity. But when I see them getting their back up, them projecting onto me, then I have to make a decision. An assessment of whether it's worth it, in either case, for me, for them, if it's going to work. And it is the compassionate thing all around to say, okay, this is not going to work. And just trust that that person is going to come to what they need in another way. And I'm needed elsewhere. I'm interested in finding where I will be valued and appreciated. That's me not being a martyr. That's me saying, I value myself. I believe in my good intentions and my wisdom, my insight. I have that. And that's where I want to put myself. And that's becoming clearer and clearer all the time. There's tremendous opportunity in this time right now for clarity. And I'm grateful for it. I'm very grateful for it. And I'm open to feedback. I'm open to dialogue. I'm open to fisticuffs. Bring it. Because I have a resilience. I have, and it's not out of armoring or numbness. It's about a willingness to feel. It's a willingness to be hurt. It's a willingness to go there, into the depths, to face my shadow. If somebody wants to confront me with something, I'm okay with that. Because I don't think they can bring anything that I haven't brought myself, that I haven't faced within myself. I've been through the darkness numerous times. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be afraid. I'm not averse. I'm not a coward. I'm brave.